First, I want to wish everyone safe and well during these crazy times with the coronavirus. Continuing on the theme of prepping for camp, it's very important to make sure you have all the equipment you need, make sure all the poles and stakes and the rain fly and all that is included. I highly recommend to grab an extra tarp that is roughly the size of your tent to lay on the ground, even if your tent is considered water sealed or weather resistant or whatever it might say waterproof, but it's never going to hurt to have that extra tarp as a ground cover for your tent to sit on top of. Most of the time not included in your tent. You need to drive your stakes in the ground. Sometimes it's nice and soft, sometimes it's clay, sometimes it's a little bit rocky. A hammer or mallet will go a long way in helping get that set up for you. And speaking of driving in the stakes, an extra couple from the store would be very handy to have. Most outdoor places carry them. Most tents follow the same basic process. Read your instructions for your specific tent. If you are having difficulties putting up your tent, contact one of your leaders and we will help get your tent set up. So, step one is a universal step. It doesn't actually have to deal with the tent itself, but it's probably the most important step you can do. That is picking your spot. You have to be kind of smart about this. Look around you. Are you in a walking path? If it rained hard, are you going to end up in a puddle or a river? Are you right next to a fire, a cliff edge, or a latrine? Are you within falling distance of dead tree branches or a whole dead tree? What about power lines or other hazardous objects? Are you on top of rocks, tree roots, pile of mud? If your answer is yes to any of these questions, pick a new spot. Start over with the list. Make sure your area is safe and clean. But if the answer is no, you're in the right spot. However, don't just throw all your gear on the ground. You should have a small tarp, say 2 foot by 4 foot, 4 foot by 4 foot, just a small little tarp to put your gear on once you get there. It's really important if it's recently rained or there's a dew on the ground, just to keep all your gear dry. Please don't just go throw it on the wet ground. Alright, step 2, you pick your spot. Now you pick up any other extra little sticks or small rocks or something that might be in the way. Toss those aside. Pull out your ground tarp, set up your ground tarp, and then go ahead and pull out your poles and snap together all your poles. Most poles are the ones with the elastic in the middle, but not all of them are that way. Some are twist together, some are snap together, some screw together. So again, tent specific, just go out, practice, put it together, know how your tent is put together. Alright, step 3 is to stake down the main section of your tent. Sometimes tents have little side sections or little extra areas that stick out. Don't typically stake those down yet, but again, read your instructions. By staking it down at this point, it helps your tent from sliding around the ground while you're trying to get the poles and everything put in. Which brings us to step 4. Step 4 is to put the poles on. I say put the poles on because many ways the poles can go on. They can go into sleeves, they can snap on, again they can twist on, they might have those little loop connectors, they might have Velcro connectors, they might have couple little strings you have to tie together. They might have a combination of all of them. This step is probably the second most important step other than picking the right spot to put your tent. This step, again, is why we pre-set up our tents, so we're not struggling with this come camp time. You just want to get there, get set up, get to your activities, you don't want to necessarily be fumbling with the tent for longer than you have to, especially if you have some free time on the side in a nice sunny day to go out back with your Scout and put the tent together and have a good time. Maybe even have a mini camp out in your backyard. Step 5, we have the rainfly and any additional stakes that may need to put in. So this is where you would stake down all the additional little side rooms and stuff like that. You'd want that pulled out before you put your rainfly on top. Then again, if you need help, call over a friend or a buddy, or maybe just having your Scout hold the corner would go a long way for this. So work together as a team, get your rainfly put up, put all the extra additional stakes on, tie your rainfly down and make sure it's staked down. Especially here in Northwest Indiana, weather can change overnight. It could be nice and sunny and then extremely windy in an hour. So just make sure you have it staked down and you're well secured. Step 5, we also do some of our final checks, including folding under the ground tarp. You don't want to fold it up on top because now water can get trapped in this little area. And this little area is going to be under your tent, and you don't want water trapped right under your tent. You're going to fold it down and under. So now if there's water, it just goes off top, just goes off the top and keeps on going and isn't pulling under your tent. Then continue to walk around while you're doing that. Check for any stake holes or loop strings that you may have missed during the assembly. Now, step 6, your tent's up, you're ready to move in. Now, don't just throw everything in the door and let it sit where it sits. You actually need to go in, organize a little bit. This is going to save you a lot of time later, especially if you end up trying to do this in the dark. Set up your cot, set up your sleeping area, get your bag situated. Remember that little tarp you were putting your equipment on earlier? Fold that up a little bit, put it right in front of your entryway. Now you have a entry mat for your shoes and stuff like that, so some of that dirt gets collected and you can easily dump it out of your tent without having a huge issue all weekend with dirt getting in your clothes and your sleeping bag and things like that.